For years, David Mann kept quiet and smiled in the background, acting like he had it all together. Fans didn't expect the truth to come out now that it did. David Mann says that Tyler Perry, the man who made a lot of money with church plays and moral stories, was manipulating everything, and not in a good way. Stay alert, because what's coming next will change the way you always think about Tyler Perry. Let's say we've all grown to love you, even when you laugh, wear a Medea wig, or sing in a powerful church voice. A secret story has been buried for years. It's about betrayal, quiet manipulation, and finally, a breaking point. Yes, David Mann has finally come forward. He is the same gospel singer and actor who stuck by Tyler Perry for more than 20 years. Fans are shocked by what he's telling them. It's not just another Hollywood mess. It's not that simple. There is spiritual conflict, loyalty that is put to the test behind closed doors, and secrets that could destroy the image of one of the most important black men in showbiz today. We'll explain everything in this movie. What finally made David Mann speak out after years of quiet, and what he says Tyler Perry did that was wrong. We'll also talk about the stress that was never shown on TV shows like Meet the Browns and Media's Big Happy Family, and how we could see the truth the whole time. You have no idea how far this went or where it might be going now. Keep reading, because this is where things start to get interesting. Before the controversy, before the silence, before things broke down, there was a partnership, a brotherhood, a bond that fans all over the world thought would never break. It was their work together that made black stage plays and family TV shows memorable. How did they get here, though? In the early 2000s, Tyler Perry went from being poor to being the biggest star in the business with his character Medea. His stage shows were honest, spiritual, and funny, and they drew a lot of African-American churchgoers. And right in the middle of it all was David Mann, who played the funny, likable, but a little lost Mr. Brown. David and his wife, Tamla Mann, became important parts of the Perry world. There was no denying their chemistry. Their acts were touching and their devotion never wavered. Fans got to know them as people, not just roles. All the plays and shows, from Meet the Browns to Medea Goes to Jail, turned into more than just fun. It turned into service. It turned into hope. Most people don't know this, though. The way David and Tyler worked together creatively was off. Perry was in charge as the writer, director, producer, and actor, and David had a small part in everything, both on and off film. People who were close to the shows said that while Perry was making a lot of money, David and the others were stuck in old contracts from when they were in stage plays. These contracts supposedly limited their royalties and gave the producers less say in future projects. David didn't say anything, though. He kept smiling. He did what he was told, but was it out of fear or loyalty? That's not even the whole picture. David Mann's life changed when something tense happened during the making of Meet the Browns. It made him question everything. Everything that happened on set wasn't in the script, though. We'll talk about that next. It was supposed to be the best work they had done together as artists. Meet the Browns, the hit TV show that brought Perry's stage characters into millions of homes, had great numbers. Fans loved Mr. Brown for his loud clothes, singing off-key, and quick wit. But David Mann wasn't laughing behind the scenes. In fact, he was in pain. Now, people who are close to the production say that something changed during shooting for the third season. Tyler Perry, who is known for micromanaging everything on set, started concentrating on the creative ideas of David and other group members. David had worked with Mr. Brown for a long time and knew a lot about him, but Perry allegedly turned down his ideas. And even changed scenes without telling David, scenes he had practiced and cared about. According to someone who knew, David was really excited about this show. There's a point where Mr. Brown finally lets his guard down, which shows a real emotional side. Tyler threw it out at the last minute because he thought it was too deep for the character. David was hurt. It wasn't just about building characters either. Several close friends and family say that Tyler started taking credit for ideas and events that David helped create. Together they came up with skits, jokes, and dramatic beats that Perry started to push through as his own vision. David Wyke had been with him from the start, so it felt like erasing. Then there was the fight. It's now official that David finally addressed Tyler on set during one tense day of filming, even though the subject is rarely brought up in public. David is said to have told him, "Man, this ain't the same energy we started with. It used to be about God and the people, but now it's just about power. How do I fit into this now?" Witnesses say Tyler reacted coldly and without much empathy, which made it clear that he was in charge of everything creatively. A member of the crew said, "This is my vision. There is a door if that doesn't work for you." That's when David started to pull away. In public, the man stayed loyal, smiling for the cameras and sharing videos of himself laughing behind the scenes. In secret, though, the damage was done. David played less of a part in Perry's younger projects. Deal slowed down. Less creative work was done together. It was very quiet when David didn't say anything. But this is where it gets really interesting. Tyler is said to have ignored more than just David. David Mann's situation wasn't the only one that went wrong. It was part of a trend that was scary. One that a lot of people in the entertainment business have talked about behind closed doors. But not many people have been brave enough to face them in public. If you look more closely, you'll notice that a lot of known faces disappear from Tyler Perry's projects. These people all have similar stories. To begin, let us talk about Cassie Davis, who is famous for her role as the tough and funny Aunt Bam. She was in all of Perry's shows for years, from stage plays to TV shows to the Medea movies. But all of a sudden, she stopped working on projects for a long time. Rumors spread that there were artistic differences going on behind the scenes. Played a big part, especially since Perry was getting tighter on writing and production. Some people close to the show say that Cassie pushed back against some less God-honoring directions it was going. Sense a pattern? Next, there's Patris Lovely, the actor who played the crazy Hattie me love. Many people don't know that she privately complained that Perry often ignored character arcs and her ideas in favor of pursuing his own artistic goals, even though fans loved her for her slapstick comedy and high-energy performance. Several sources say that Patris felt like she was used, was always in the spotlight, but never really felt appreciated. Who could forget Tasha Smith, who played the tough Angela in Why Did I Get Married? And for better or worse. She is the fan favorite. Perry and Tasha's fight was more well-known. Later, she talked about how hard it was to get her voice heard on set and how she had to fight for fair treatment. At one point, she said that Perry's tight control over his actors' careers, especially those he found, made her feel trapped. What does this have to do with David Mann? Easy. The fact that David Mann kept quiet for so long gave Perry's company legitimacy. People saw David as their loyal friend because he never questioned Perry's authority. The dam is starting to break now that David has backed off and finally spoken out, even if it was in a roundabout way. David just recently did a radio interview. He didn't say any names, but it was clear what he was saying. David said that loyalty without respect turns into slavery when asked about loyalty in Hollywood. "I always did what was right, but I wasn't always appreciated." Even the most devoted must draw a line at some point. Fans knew right away who he was talking about. People on social media were full of guesses. What does he mean by Tyler Perry? All these years, did people treat Mr. Brown like a clown and never given much thought? And maybe the scariest part. Some people say that this damage could have spiritual effects. David and Tamala Mann have always had a strong faith in the gospel and in service. Some people think that David struggled on the inside as Perry's productions became less religious and more edgy. He felt stuck between faith and friendship, loyalty and spiritual belief. When you think of great gospel artists, Tamala Mann's name comes to mind right away. Millions of people have been moved by her speech, her faith, and how real she is. But besides the silver records and standing ovations, Tamala had to deal with the same problems in Hollywood as her husband David, especially when it came to Tyler Perry. Another thing that many people don't know is how important Tamala was to both Perry's rise and David's ability to keep his cool. David played the silly loud Mr. Brown, but Tamala was always cool and strong on and off screen. She played Mr. Brown's daughter Cora in almost all of the Perry productions they were in. Realistically, though, she was the rock that helped David deal with how he felt about being left out. Close friends of the men say that Tamala knew about the stress going on behind the scenes. She was worried about Perry's direction, especially the moral cuts that were being made. It is said that Tamala became more uncomfortable as Perry's productions included more swearing, and sexually suggestive content and less focus on gospel value. However, she kept quiet, at least in public, out of respect for David's relationship with Perry and their long-standing commitment to the audience. But behind David's back, Tamla told him to pick peace over fame. Based on someone who worked with the couple on a gospel tour, Tamela didn't want to burn bridges, but she also didn't want to keep going on one that was already on fire. David didn't have to say it out loud, but he did have to be honest with himself, and what she did worked. David didn't go after Perry in the press, but instead decided to keep a quiet distance. He worked harder to build the Mann family brand through music, tearing, and even faith-based, funny, and loving reality shows for the whole family. They didn't just change directions creatively when they made the Mann's reality show, their gospel albums, and Tamla's multiple award-winning songs. They did those things on purpose to get their voice back, away from Perry and lines they couldn't change, and towards a place where no one could filter or change their message. But here's the sad part. Even with everything, Tamla and David never named Perry, up until now. Because not long ago, during a live Q&A with fans, he finally spoke after a long pause. You know what hurts the most? It's not when people you don't know take advantage of you. They look you in the eye and tell you it's ministry. They teach God's name and build their reputation on being moral, when in fact it's just manipulation. The studio went dead quiet. The host looked shocked and asked, "Was this someone close to you?" David agreed and said, "This was family. I thought it was work for the kingdom, but I found out later that I was just a chess piece on someone else's board." Within minutes, social media went crazy. His fans knew just who he was talking about. A billion-dollar media empire was built by Tyler Perry on the platform of faith and black freedom. But now he was being seen not just as a visionary, but also as someone who may have used spirituality as a way to control others. But what did David finally give up on? People who know the Mann family say it wasn't money. It wasn't even the rudeness. According to David, Perry supposedly made a promise and then broke it. This hurt him greatly. This is the story. Perry first brought up the idea of making a separate show based only on Mr. Brown in 2017. For David, who had played the role for more than 20 years, this was a moment of recognition. David had a lot at stake. He put forward ideas. He started to write down things. Even making time in his plan for it, he was looking forward to the start of production. The project never took place, though. Also, Perry started a whole new comedy show a few months later, which was awful, using the same family relationships and humor, but with a whole new cast. David was not called. Nobody ever thanked him for what he did. The worst part, people who worked there say that Perry used a lot of the creative ideas that David had brought up in private talks. That's what was wrong. That's when David turned away. And in a recent interview, he talked about the moment he realized this wasn't preaching or brotherhood. It was business, and I was just another tool. This is even stronger because of this. David wasn't mad when he said those things. He wasn't angry. He talked in a calm, almost sad way, like he was missing a friend. That wisdom and restraint is what fans really liked about her. He wasn't trying to get anyone to cancel. He wasn't after the news. He was being honest. Since that show, there has been a lot of talk in the gospel and entertainment worlds. A few famous people have quietly praised David's bravery. Others have kept quiet, probably because they don't want to upset Perry's huge business. David has finally shown what many people have felt. That dedication shouldn't cost you your voice. Fans are praising David for this. As of now, David Mann has not said anything, leaving fans to wonder what will happen next. Tyler Perry hasn't said anything about the indirect accusations in public yet. He hasn't done any interviews, given any comments, or responded on social media. It's very quiet, though. And sometimes not saying anything can say everything in the eyes of the people. To get through this wave of scrutiny, many people think Tyler is counting on his long history of goodwill and his image as a visionary, a philanthropist, and a leader in black media. In fact, though, the cracks are beginning to show. Other people who used to work together have slowly begun to tell their own stories. Some artists and crew members have written vague but telling posts on social media, like, "At last, someone said it," or "People need to start telling the truth." Even though they don't say their names, it's clear what they mean. The floodgates have been opened by David's evidence. People who watched Meet the Browns, House of Pain, and the Medea movies as kids now have different feelings about them. They may be sad, have questions, or be skeptical. What about David Mann, though? Yeah. Now here's the beautiful. David doesn't want to put anyone down. He's not angry. He is not trying to lie about you. He's doing something much more important than making news, which is something we don't see very often in Hollywood. David and Tamela Mann have done very well since they moved out of Perry's shadow. Their singing careers are still going strong, especially in the gospel world. The Billboard charts are topped by Tamela's records. Their family brand is better than ever, and people like them because they are real. It was their choice to start their own projects based on faith, joy, and honesty. It wasn't long ago that David was on stage next to Tamala when she sang her powerful song, Take Me to the King. This time, though, it wasn't as Mr. Brown. It was as David, the man, the husband, the father, and the voice eventually taking back who he was. After the song, he told the crowd that God will sometimes take you out of someone else's light so that he can shine a light on your own. Right then, the crowd exploded because it was no longer just entertainment. That was proof. What do we learn from this? A family of entertainers was built with the quiet, loyal work of David Mann behind the scenes of Tyler Perry's business. But there was a man trying to be heard behind the jokes and loyalty. When people stopped respecting David, he did something that many others in the business are afraid to do. He left with style. He didn't scream. He didn't lie about her. He told the truth. She spoke softly but strongly, and she let everyone see the man behind Mr. Brown. Now people all over the world can hear. Do you think that David's silence kept Perry safe for too long? Should Tyler finally answer these claims? Or is this just the start of more people speaking out? Rate your answer in the box below. Turn on the bell so you don't miss the next famous breakdown or expose. Don't forget to like and subscribe. More facts, more receipts, and more stories that will open your eyes are on the way. This is a deep one. No matter if you're on Team Perry, Team Mann, or just want to know the truth. Thanks for watching all the way through.